This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
It's Oh Behave with Arden Moore, the show that teaches you how to have harmony in the household with your pets. Join Arden as she travels coast to coast to help millions better understand why cats and dogs do what they do. Get the latest scoop on famous faces, their perfectly pampered pets, and who's walking who in Rin Tin Tinseltown. From famous pet experts and best-selling authors to television and movie stars, you'll get the latest buzz from wagging tongues and tails. Garner great pet tips and have a doggone fur-flying fun time. So get ready for the pause and applause as we unleash your Oh Behave host, America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore.
Welcome to the Oh Behave Show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Now, our special guest today has been a possum health advocate for dogs, cats, and other pets for more than 4 decades. In fact, he's regarded as one of the leading integrative medicine veterinarians on this entire planet. And he's here today to unleash ways to boost your pet's health. Please join me in giving pause and applause to the remarkable Dr. Marty Goldstein. Hey, welcome to the show, Dr. Marty.
It's a pleasure being on here. Anything that could help our so lovely animal kingdom, I'm for.
All right. I got that check on that one, too. And guys, listeners, it's fitting that this episode that's being recorded today, April 11th, has been declared National Pet Day. But in my humble opinion, I think every day should be embraced as National Pet Day. And Dr. Marty...
You took the words out of my mouth.
All right. And Dr. Marty's going to show us how right after we take this quick commercial break. So sit and stay. We'll be right back.
Time for a pause. 4 furry ones, actually. Sit and stay. Oh Behave will be right back.
Hey, it's me again. Yep, Arden Moore, host of the Oh Behave Show, doing this commercial. You know what I love? I love my cats. I love pet safety cat Casey. I love my sweet Mikey. And I love one-eyed Morty. Each one has their unique personality. Casey's a pet safety cat and teaches pet first aid. Mikey loves to lounge on the couch and purr in your lap. And one-eyed Morty, he's just a purr machine. Now, you know what I don't love? Cleaning up the litter for Casey, Mikey, and Morty, which is why Arm & Hammer created new cloud control litter. There's no cloud of nasties now when I scoop. It's 100% dust-free. It's free of heavy perfumes, and it reduces airborne dander from scooping. Yahoo! So, what happens in the litter box stays in the litter box. New cloud control cat litter by Arm & Hammer. More power to you.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com. Oh Behave is back with more tail-wagging ways to achieve harmony in the household with your pets. Now back to your fetching host, America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore.
Welcome back to the Oh Behave Show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Yes, I do sound a little bit like Stevie Nicks today because I'm fighting a sore throat after talking 2 8-hour sessions teaching pet first aid to folks. So you get to hear my Stevie Nicks voice today, listeners. But more important, you get to hear from our special guest. Now, I consider Dr. Marty Goldstein one of the world's top veterinarians. And if I read all of his accomplishments, we literally would not have time to talk with him on this show. So just a quick Reader's Digest version. Dr. Marty Goldstein is the author of the perennial best-selling book, The Nature of Animal Healing. He has appeared on zillions of shows. Well, I might be exaggerating zillions, but we're talking about Good Morning America, The Martha Stewart Show, and Oprah Winfrey Show. And he has spearheaded a mission to boost the health of pets for the past 40-plus years. He has brought thousands of pets deemed to be terminally ill back to health. Hey, I salute you, Dr. Marty. That's quite an accomplishment.
Well, thank you.
All right.
It's just a labor of love. It's just a labor of love.
So
I didn't do it to accomplish stuff. I just love animals. And I just learned about true health care after I graduated Cornell in the 70s because I was losing my own health. It's nothing more than common sense.
Well, let's talk about that because, I was doing a little research on you and you had a weight issue, you had some stomach issues, you had a lot of things that wouldn't make you win Healthy Man Award. A lot of it is dealing with what you put in your mouth. We're talking about food, making smart food choices.
Yeah, I mean, that's what did it for me. Most of my conditions were genetically linked. They ran on my mother's side of the family and all the males. Mm-hmm. So I accepted it as, I was dealt a bad hand of cards. And it was just fear and vanity in my 20s, with chronic arthritis or bursitis and this kind of condition, the birthmarks were on my body, that I just started to search a little bit alternatively. And the first thing I did was pick up a book on macrobiotic diet.
Oh, there you go.
What's this weird stuff? Way back in the 70s. But it actually said words in there that I was looking for, like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to degenerate. And I changed my diet. I was always overweight. And I literally lost like 20 pounds in 8 days.
Oh, my gosh.
I tried everything before that. But then my arthritis went away. And I started to see the relationship between what we put in our mouth and what happens in the body. And then the common sense thing was to try it on our family pets. And lo and behold, it worked. And it was like, whoa.
Well,
major light bulb went off.
There are nowadays folks that are called integrative veterinarians, where they are taking the conventional medicine with holistic and all that. But you were doing it well before there was even that term, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, when I got out, holistic veterinary medicine didn't exist. And I think one of the problems in society, and this happened with me in the initial phases, when I became aware of alternatives, my pendulum was swinging all the way from one side of ill health conventional medicine all the way to the other side. Oh my God, this holistic stuff works and all medicine is bad. But it was just a pendulum. The weight of the pendulum swung all the way to the other side. And what I'm getting to see now is that we're truly in the world of integrative medicine. We do use conventional medicine in our practice every single day because it's needed. So it's not one or the other. It's the combination of both. And it went from holistic to complementary. Now it's integrative. I hung out with Andrew Weil for a while, and he said,
he's great,
I want this to be called, maybe good medicine. The other words we could use are appropriate medicine or one medicine, or how about real medicine?
Oh, I like that, like real news, right?
Yeah, or just this is good medicine. It's using the best of both worlds. There's no competition here of conventional medicine against, alternative medicine. And true holistic medicine is the combination of both.
Well, and that said, we do want to let folks know you do practice at the Smith Ridge Veterinary Center in South Salem, New York, correct?
Yes, I do.
All right. And folks, as a background, yes, he went to this prestigious veterinary school, Cornell, and he got certified in veterinary acupuncture. But you were also a founding member of the American Holistic Veterinary Medical Association. So you seem like the kind of vet I'd like to go to because you're, like you say, you're offering good medicine, real medicine using the best of both worlds. Can we clone you? Have you learned how to do that?
Well, what's really good now is that I've gone through literally 35, 38 years of hell and criticism.
Yep.
1978, my license was verbally threatened for treating arthritic dogs with glucosamine sulfate. Now they sell, millions of dollars a year of it. And then I was certified in acupuncture in the mid-70s, and that's when condemnation hit. Goldstein sticking needles in animals.
Oh, my gosh.
Now 19 of the 34 veterinary colleges embrace it. So, it's funny, but, people and especially colleagues come up to me and said, you were so ahead of your time. And I go, what? Acupuncture has been around 3,000 years. I was just 30 years less behind than you were.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I think I read somewhere on your site, you said you have been called a pioneer of integrative veterinary medicine. You've also been called a maverick, a miracle worker, and a quack. But what is constant is you're still here and you have a lot of success stories.
Yeah, and I was alluding to when you said, can you clone? Now that I'm getting accepted, I recently lectured at my alma mater 3 months ago at Cornell. Literally blew them away. But what's really so heartwarming for me is that some of the cases that I now present, that are mind-blowing, miraculous turnarounds of documented hopeless cases. They're not mine. They're my associates that I've taught. So what it just shows is that this is not me. This work can be replicated. This is nature trying to heal the body with the proper support in that direction. It's not rocket science. How do you heal a cut? You sign on to Google? No. The body knows how to heal, and we have to just watch out in the medical field about suppressing what nature is doing in the body, especially with harsh chemicals, because disease has a purpose in the body. There is a purpose for a fever. There is a purpose for a discharge. And what I've learned over the years is to respect what nature is doing in the body in reference to disease, signs, or symptoms, and try to support them when they go out of hand. Yes, use regular medicine, but if they're not out of hand, support them with what are called nutraceuticals or nutritional supplements and allow nature to work so the body can heal itself.
Give me an example, because you said you spoke at Cornell. Do you have one of these cases you can share for our listeners?
About 40,000 I could share.
Okay, well, folks, we're going to be now on a marathon session with Dr. Marty Goldstein. Hang on, guys. We'll be done in a week. No, I'm just kidding. Just give me a couple examples, because I think people would love to hear
there's
that.
There's one I would like to share.
Okay, good.
And I actually wrote about her in my book. It was a boxer named Ginger that came to me. She was hypothyroid. She had, as a boxer, all boxers in those days had tumors, and she was arthritic. And we worked on her for about 2.5 years. Okay. And she was doing really well. She came in at the age of 11, and I did a routine blood sample, and her white blood count was 5 to 8 times normal. That is scary for lymphocytic leukemia.
Oh, no.
But she was doing well because we worked on her for 2.5 years. And I kept on taking blood samples. And I verified this, and I just documented. And for the next 6 months, her white blood count, normal is about 7 to 10,000, was between 58 and 95,000, and they were all lymphocytes. So we had a confirmed diagnosis of lymphocytic leukemia, and then all of a sudden, 6 months after I made the first diagnosis, which could have gone back at least 9 months before because I hadn't taken a blood sample in a year, she ran a fever of 106.8.
Wow.
I was in California, and she went to a local vet that I know well. She had green mucus coming out of her nose, and she had, on an x-ray, pneumonia. And they asked me permission to put her on an antibiotic. And they said, "You called me for that? Of course you put her on an antibiotic." I came home 2 days later, and her temperature, in those days, it was a shakedown thermometers.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And it buried at 107.4.
Oh, my gosh.
But she was still alive. We talked about, helping her cross. But her caretaker, Pat, said, "No, she's not suffering. I would like her to pass on her own if she's going to do that." And at this time, all the lymph nodes in her body swelled up. So now she had lymphoma, lymphocytic leukemia. And I stopped the antibiotics because they weren't working. And I took blood samples, and she called the next day, and I thought she passed overnight. And she said, "No, she's actually a little better." I took her temperatures down to 104.5, and her white blood count went from 90,000 down to 7,400, perfectly normal.
Oh, my gosh.
All her lymph nodes shrunk. And then she lived another 3.5 years and died at almost 16 years old. And I really got to see that this was nature at work. This was a fever of over 107.
Which is high. Was it at 102.5, kind of the top end of a healthy temp?
Yeah, normal is 100 to 102.4, considered normal. And I got to see the purpose of this fever, but you know what? It came after we worked on it for 2.5 years. And in my book, I wrote a chapter called The Healing Crisis. And it's how nature creates disease as a reversal of the process that it went through to gain the disease. And everyone in the world should read chapter 6 of my book so they get to assign purpose to an illness instead of just saying, "Oh my God, I'm suffering. It's a punishment."
Right. And again, folks, the book is called The Nature of Animal Healing. It is a huge perennial bestseller. So I am so glad that Ginger got to be cared for by you. I know there's a lot of things that we can talk about today, Dr. Marty, but I did want to ask you, one of the things I heard that you really wanted to cover are the 3 essential nutrients every pet should have for a healthy, long life. What would you say they are?
Number 1, food. And what I always say is if the pet food industry was created by scientists that studied the way dogs and cats ate in the wild, they never would have created pet food as we've come to know it. So many of the real big pet foods on the market have been 50 to 64% processed cereal byproducts. And a dog, and especially a cat, the obligate carnivore, almost, their diet is almost exclusively meat. Mm-hmm. So, even though they're no longer in the wild, show me one tooth in a dog or cat's mouth that is flat for grinding corn.
Yeah.
So, I think it all starts with food. And then as far as the supplements, like if I see a healthy dog or a healthy cat come into our practice, what I would do is I would start them on a transition to a good diet, preferably raw because they didn't cook in the wild. And then my favorite of the supplements right now is a very good probiotic, prebiotic, and digestive enzyme, especially if they're not eating raw food, because as soon as you heat any food, it destroys the enzymes. Yeah. And a really high-quality omega-3 packed fish oil or krill oil.
Okay, good.
And those are my 3 nutrients. What's really funny?
What's that?
When I started to do all this work, and I was probably among the first 2 or 3 holistic veterinarians in the United States, there was one supplement for animals in the United States. It was made by a drug company, and it was a vitamin mineral. Do you know how many supplements there are for animals right now?
Oh, my gosh, I can't.
A zillion. Yeah.
I just came back from a Global Pet Expo.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And the big hot topic is CBD oil. Everybody is now proclaiming, and some of these things aren't tested. Everybody thinks it's a miracle thing, but I think someone of your caliber, you really have to read the label, right? How was it processed?
You have to know what you're doing. With CBD oil, you especially have to know how to dose it. So, I could spend 6 hours going over different supplements that I've come across in my career that I'm not going to do. But my 3 favorite nutrients is a very, very high quality, especially meat-based raw diet, a high quality fish oil, and then a very good, it'd be a combination of probiotic, prebiotic, and digestive enzyme. That's what I would start with.
When you're talking about meat-based raw diet, I know that there are ones out there that are dehydrated. What's your thoughts? Because some folks are a little nervous about accidentally contaminating with the raw things. But what's your take on some of the things that are the freeze-dried or whatever?
Yeah, it's a great question. I right now do have my own line of a freeze-dried raw diet for dogs and cats. Mm-hmm. And it's safety for the FDA because you will not have that bacterial Salmonella E. coli contamination, right, which is good. And you're retaining almost all the nutritional qualities of the food. What I really like about the food that I created in association with this an amazing company is the testimonials that are coming in from all over the United States. On literally some dogs and cats that were on their deathbed, anorectic and this and that. And within 1 week on the food, they're enjoying life, running around and stuff like that. Ideally, a good raw diet that has not been freeze-dried would be the best. But there was no way I was going to make an impingement on society by shipping raw meat, frozen, all over the United States. When you freeze dry something, the ability to get it out to the masses is so much greater because the weight goes down, the ability to ship goes down. You don't need refrigeration and this and that. So that was my way of really getting this out to the masses.
And I do want folks at this time, do you want them to dash over after the show to the drmartypets.com website? I think that's where you have a lot of the products and things available for them. Is that the best website for them?
As far as the products go, yes. And like I said before, what I really like about the affiliation I have right now is the absolute geniuses that I'm working with. In the supplements we're creating. And I've been doing this for a long time, like you said, over 40 years. I know supplements back and forth, even though I don't know every supplement that exists. This company I'm dealing with, they are finding supplement components for my supplements that I'd never heard of before, fully backed by research in the human field and the animal field. And I'm just so ecstatic in life right now that I'm putting out supplements that are not like the other 35 in the same category.
That sounds good. Hey, folks, we are speaking with Dr. Marty Goldstein. He is an amazing veterinarian. He practices integrative medicine, which means he gets the best of all worlds. Sometimes you need surgery, and sometimes you need good holistic medicine. It's kind of like you're an orchestra conductor for pets. We're gonna talk about how he creates harmony for these folks after we take this quick commercial break. So sit and stay. We'll be right back.
Time for a walk on the red carpet, of course. Oh Behave will be back in a flash right after these messages.
Molly, here's your dinner. Zeus, that's not your food.
Don't let that happen to your precious cat. Elevate your cat's eating experience with the Cat Tree Tray. The Cat Tree Tray keeps your cat's food off the floor and conveniently located on the cat tree. It's the perfect way to eat. It's a beautiful wrought iron tray that easily attaches to your cat tree and keeps dogs and other critters out of your cat's dish. A must for multi-pet households. There's a 6-inch tray for large bowls and a 4-inch tray for smaller bowls. Purchase your Cat Tree Tray today. Go right now to cattreetray.com. That's cattreetray.com. CATTREETRAY.com.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Hey everybody, I'm Rachel Ray, and you're listening to Oh Behave with Arden Moore on Pet Life Radio.
We're back from the lot. Just checked the paper and we had a record showing at the box. The letterbox, that is. Now back to Oh Behave. Here's Arden.
Welcome back to the O Behave Show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. I got to tell you, I've heard of Dr. Marty Goldstein. I've read stuff by him, but I've been in the pet field for 20 years, and this is my first opportunity to have a conversation with you, and I've been really enjoying what you've been saying, Dr. Marty.
Well, and funny thing is, I've been called a lot of things in my career. We could spend the rest of the show in just me sharing those names. I've never been called an orchestra leader for the pets.
Well, there you go. I just gave you that because you're creating health harmony. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's great. Thank you.
All right. That's why I is a writer.
Yeah, right.
So let's talk a little bit about cats. I know we're talking about food and we're talking about a little bit supplements and the omega-3 fish oil or krill oil. Help us here because cats are not small dogs. And, you know, in my household, I got married a year and a half ago, so I have a furry Brady bunch, 3 cats and 3 dogs. Everybody gets along. But the dogs are always heading to the water bowl. We have one of those moving motion water fountains for the kitties. We always use bottled water. But talk a little bit about cats because people say they don't drink enough water. And when we were getting you on the show, you wanted to clarify a little bit about how maybe what's in their diet could add to their ability to stay hydrated.
Yeah, usually excessive drinking of water is a very bad sign or symptom, especially in the cats, because the number one killer of cats is kidney failure. And one of the first signs you'll see is excessive thirst and urination because the kidneys ain't working anymore. One of the byproducts of the metabolism of good food is water. Water and carbon dioxide comes off when you make good food and when you metabolize properly good food. So a cat raised on a very good, healthy diet or species-appropriate diet, because a cat is an obligate carnivore,
right,
they're not going to be needing to drink a lot of water. Mm-hmm. We've gotten used to it because we've created the dry food complex, which is The pet food industry has actually taken responsibility for creating the disease in cats called cardiomyopathy by taking poor food compounds, byproducts, baking the hell out of it, turning into a powder, and then extruding it into crunchies, and they destroyed the amino acid taurine and the amino acid L-carnitine, and we created severe heart disease in cats by the pet food industry. And when this food is dried, it turns back into a powder, it dehydrates the body. So the body has to drink a lot more water to rehydrate itself. You put a cat on a raw meat diet, their requirement for water goes way, way down. So don't feel obsessed that, my cat has to drink more water. Like the human, we should be drinking 8 glasses a day. Animals are not like that in nature.
Okay. And what do you think about the canned food versus the kibble issue? It sounds like if they're not able to afford, let's just say, raw meat diet, if they went with a species-appropriate canned diet, or what's your thoughts on that versus just throwing a bunch of kibble?
I would personally choose canned, because you open up a can, you're going to see the food, especially if it's a high-quality food. There are some very high-quality dry foods on the market. But the unfortunate thing is that the high-quality ingredients, in order to make it a dry food, usually has to go through what's called the extrusion process, which is heating it at high temperature and compressing it into these little tablets. So you're getting a destruction of a lot of the nutrient compounds that are in there. And to meet APCO regulations under the FDA, a lot of times the vitamins, minerals, and all that stuff that's added back in are in synthetic forms, which actually detract vital energy from the body. It all goes down to food. Yep. We should be feeding them food that they were intended to eat in nature.
All right. Now, we've talked a little bit about 3 essential nutrients a pet should have for a healthy life. What about some other things? I mean, when I teach my pet first aid classes, I actually, Dr. Marty, have pet safety dog Kona and pet safety cat Casey. He's an orange tabby. We go all over the country. We teach veterinary approved pet first aid. And I have a policy that says, why does it have to be scary? Because I am a little bit of a goofball at heart. So we have a little fun, but we're learning. But what I'm saying is, when I do, at the end, I do a head to tail wellness assessment, and everybody does that on Casey and Kona. Oh, my dog. Casey and Kona love when the students come up and do therapeutic massages up and down the spine and looking for lactic acid and things like that. But tell us the importance of touch, of massage, what we can do instead of tapping a dog on a head or patting a cat. What can you share with our listeners? It doesn't cost any money, but it sounds like touching with a purpose is a much better option.
Well, first of all, there are probably even more than I'm going to say. But when I first learned acupuncture, 365 acupuncture points on the body, like one for each day of the year. There are actually more than that. And I've seen, and many veterinarians now certified in acupuncture have seen miraculous response by stimulating either with a needle or aquapuncture by injection, or when you massage an acupuncture point, miraculous effects in the body. So, the body is a network of energetic points.
Good point. Yeah.
And proper massage, chiropractors work on the back, and the back it's called the bladder meridian in acupuncture. It's 2 flows of energy on each side of the spine. And along that bladder meridian are what are called association points, and each one hooks to an internal organ of the body, like the bladder, the kidneys, the small intestine, and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So you have a pain in your back, or your pet has a pain in their back, it could be a reference to something going on internally. And if you gently massage that area so it feels good, that feels good, you may be actually sending energy back to that organ and making the body healthier, not even knowing what you're doing, thinking it's just massage. So you are correct. You're
bonding with your pet. You're petting with a purpose, I guess. Maybe that's the best way of saying it, by using like your fingertips massage, right?
Absolutely. And if you're going down their leg or their back and you feel a tight muscle bundle, just like if it was you and someone massaged it out, you're going to feel better. You're going to have more lymphatic flow, and when you feel better physically, you feel better mentally, and we do know mind over matter, it really helps the health state.
I say amen, Dr. Marty. You are my
Once again,
number
just
one.
Common sense.
I know it's just common sense. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about, because you also are a lot about giving back. So can you tell us a little bit about your connection with the Freedom Service Dogs of America?
Yeah, it's just there are so many different organizations that I would like to support. Mm-hmm. You know, when you deal about the Freedom Service, it's just, you know, you're helping at such a higher global level. So when my group and I got together, which one should we, because I do have my own foundation, it's kind of laying dormant right now, but we're really going to get it fired up.
Good.
But, you know, it's just the people that service our planet to try to keep it as safe. Mm-hmm. And there, let's look at how the pet, you know, the companion animal fits in to the human race. I look at it, you know, we have all these things we do in life. You know, we try to keep ourselves fit. We get married so we could have a family. We have a group that we work with, and then we have the higher dynamics. You know, we have the human race, and we have the godly aspect, you know, whatever you believe in the spiritual world. And look what the animal is. It represents to the human race the level of unconditional love.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, what we've done, I graduated Cornell in 1973. There was approximately 1 out of 10 dogs got cancer. And it was always a disease of the old. So if we saw a young dog with a lump, we eliminated the possibility of cancer just by the age. The last statistic that's been out there is 1 out of every 1.61 dogs in the United States will get cancer, and it's become very common in the younger dog.
Yikes.
So what we're doing, if you look at this more globally, is we're turning this level of unconditional love, what they represent to us, into cancer, and it's putting a spin on the human race. Do you know how many people I have dealt with over the years, even celebrities, that have to stop filming a film because their dog or cat has cancer or
right.
this, or people have to not work, or they go bankrupt, you know, trying to, you know, pay for the chemotherapy and this and that. So we're actually, this human-animal bond is so powerful, and it's probably more powerful on the animal side helping the human than the human helping the animal.
Right.
And, you know, anytime we could support that with groups that will serve both of those, that's what I'm for. Our human race is suffering because of what we've done to the animal kingdom.
Well, hopefully we're going to make a comeback in that vein, because we are going to clone you, Dr. Marty Goldstein. We're going to find a way, and you're going to live forever. You're going to be called Dr. Marty Methuselah Goldstein. How's that?
Well, what's interesting is right now I have 3 beautiful daughters. The oldest is still in high school, about to go to college, and I'm 58 years older than my youngest daughter.
Wow.
So I'm staying around a long time.
I like that. And I do we have to get a little bit of a celebrity crush here. One thing we do have a little bit in common is that Oprah has voted my show, Oh Behave, as one of her top 3 pet podcasts for 2 years in a row. I never got a car, Dr. Marty, never. But you have worked with her. You have worked with folks like Martha Stewart. These are 2 genuine, amazing animal lovers. Anything you want to share about working with them and their pets?
Yeah, there's the phone that I thought I hung up on. But well, first of all, they are 2 huge animal lovers. I mean, that is so obvious. One great thing was, you know, I had my own show that Martha gave me for 6 years. It was on the Sirius Satellite Network. It was called Ask Martha's Vet, and it was great. And she is a huge animal lover and really helped get the message out. And then, you know, Oprah, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, she called me. I was actually going to my 3rd Martha Stewart show at the Sirius Studios in New York City, and I was in Grand Central Station, and I never used a cell phone, and all of a sudden a telephone call came in from Africa. And it was Oprah calling me at Grand Central Station. I couldn't really, you know, I couldn't speak to her. And I said, Oprah, I'm sorry, I really can't speak to you because Martha Stewart gave me my own show and I have to go in there. And she said, really? And then, you know, I called her after the show and we talked about Sophie. Sophie had 4 major problems and needed her gallbladder removed. And then she liked what she heard. She flew Sophie in and we kept her on intravenous vitamin C for 4 days. I have emails from Oprah saying, I am in disbelief how well my dog is doing on your program.
Oh, that is so wonderful, because it doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or you feel like
Correct.
your dog treats you like a rock star. I think this just is the commonality, the common thread, because whether you're Oprah, Martha, Marty, or Joe Lunchbucket, I mean, look what pets do for us, right?
That's the biggie, and I've dealt with so many celebrities, obviously animal lovers, but it's about everyday America, and the food that I came out with, the supplements that I came out, it was how to reach everyday America. You don't have to be a celebrity to get the benefit of what I've learned over my last 45 years. That's the biggie.
That is a biggie. So at this point, is there any parting message you'd like to tell our listeners? We have a few 100,000, and they're not all my relatives. So what would you like? So if you could wave a magic wand to everybody that's blessed to have a pet in their life, is there something you'd like to tell them?
Yeah, I would like to share my 2 associates with them.
Okay.
And what's made me as successful as I am is that I actually bonded with 2 associates just a year or 2 outside of Cornell.
Okay.
And one associate is called Nature, because she knows what she's doing in the body. She's 100% conscious. So we have to get in touch and assign a purpose to what nature's doing in the body, not necessarily think that every symptom nature creates is bad and we have to suppress it with the medication.
Right.
And the other one is my buddy, like I mentioned before, common sense, where you actually step back and instead of, because disease will send you, totally at effect. You hear that word cancer in your companion animal and you freak out and you lose aspects of common sense. And I developed who I am in my practice by stepping back and saying, what should a dog eat? What should a cat eat? Why does this cat have a fever? Why is there a discharge? Why is there mucousy diarrhea? And I started to use common sense to put a purpose on stuff that I didn't learn at vet school.
That is very
anyone
powerful.
that has a pet, use those 2 associates, nature and common sense, and we're golden.
I think you said it perfectly. I am honored and delighted, folks, to have Dr. Marty Goldstein on our show as our special guest today. At this time, also, I want to salute our producer. He's not a doctor, but he is a wizard of paws. We're talking about Mark Winter. He is the executive director of all the shows on the Pet Life Radio Network, which is the #1 listened to pet radio network on the planet. And I'm going to say probably the moon, too. I can be bold about that, right? Don't you think, Dr. Marty?
Absolutely.
But and I also hope you guys can follow me on Facebook. It's easy. It's just Arden Moore. My mother gave me a very unusual first name, and you can also follow Dr. Marty. It's official Dr. Marty on Facebook, and he has an Instagram, Dr. Marty Goldstein. So check out what the good doctor is up to, because he is continuing his lifelong mission to bring out the healthy best in our pets. And until next time, this is your flea-free host, Arden Moore, delivering just 2 words to all you 2, 3, and 4-leggers out there. Oh, behave.
Coast to coast and around the world, it's Oh Behave with Arden Moore. Find out why cats and dogs do the things they do, and get the latest buzz from wagging tongues and tails in Rin Tin Tinseltown. From famous pet experts and best-selling authors to television and movie stars, you'll get great tail-wagging pet tips and have a fur-flying fun time. All Behave with America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore. Every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.